Hey Queens, welcome back. I'm Daniel.
And I'm Garet, and we're your hosts of Modern Gays. I wouldn't even know if I had a hater because I pay them no attention. Do you have any haters?
I think I have a lot of haters. Honestly, I feel people's energy.
When we launched this podcast and we did a lot of social media posting, and you may have noticed that we calmed that down a bit, we were getting a lot of hate. We were getting a lot of weird comments,
From the
weird
sidelines.
DMs. Yeah, like there was some like bots that started following us. So it affected the way that we wanted to share our message on social media. And I'm really regretful that we rolled it back a bit because we let the haters win.
The problem is, unfortunately, as a gay queer person in today's world, you just cop hate for existing, period.
Yeah.
That is the hard truth.
So today's episode is all about them haters. And it was inspired really from RuPaul's Drag Race. I mean, what else, obviously? With the recent episode of Canada versus the World. And one of the songs was with Lemon, and she wrote the best verse. And it was really about how you address all of the haters that you may get from randoms, but as well as within the community. A lot of people have a lot of opinions
Absolutely.
about their drag, about their performances, who should have won, who should have not. Like, there's just a lot of maybe judgment, but also just critique.
And that's the thing these days. I feel like within the community, we do not have the space or the bandwidth to be hating on one another.
We shouldn't be, no.
Like that should not be happening at all. Like we should be uplifting one another. We should be supporting one another. We should be encouraging each other. If you have a bit of judgment, like keep it to yourself.
It's a bit of, I get that there is like a bit of tea, right? It's a bit of our culture too, like to drop a little bit of shade or to have this kind of cheeky banter, which offers a little bit of judgment, but it is supposed to land not so harsh. It's supposed to be something that maybe can be laughed about. Like we should be able to laugh at ourselves.
Okay, I have a quick question for you, and you can say yes. Us gays, we just know how to do stuff.
Well, what about modern gays?
That's easy. Modern gays do everything. Are you hating on anything or anyone right now?
Ooh, yes.
Okay.
100%. Like,
share.
I'm hating on the U.S. election.
Obviously.
I'm hating at the usual characters that we normally would be hating on in the U.S. election.
Clarify a bit more.
A lot of people who are watching the election in Australia are asking me, oh, who do you think is ahead? Or what do you think is going on? Or how did the debate go?
Or how do you feel?
Yeah. And I just feel like at all of these debates, there's no clear winner. There's just a clear loser. Like America's losing. And I do feel like us as a global economy and a global community is losing on what's happening in the US. I'm trying to control myself and not lean into the darkness. Like I'm trying to lean into
Don't
the critical.
go to the dark side.
Yeah, I want to hold on to that critical point of view.
Yeah.
And I want to challenge, but I also don't want to lose myself in the challenge.
Yeah.
What about you? What are you hating on right now?
I'm hating on Gio from selling OC.
Yeah, because you really were
let me
obsessed
down.
with him. You were really looking up to him.
He was my inspiration.
You wanted to get into real estate.
I will get
He's
into
a
real
boss.
estate one day. Yeah. And then he had a baby. And I was like, oh, good for you. And then he posted a stupid photo of Donald Trump after that whole saga. And it just turned me off him. It actually also turned me off the whole Selling Sunset franchise. Because in my mind, I'm like, how many other agents in that show actually are a Republican?
Well, I'm sure a lot. I think that as an agent in real estate in the West Coast, especially someone who's
because of the interest rates, I get it. I get that.
They're all like fiscal, financial, Republicans. I think that is done now. I don't think that you can say really confidently to the people that you love that are at risk of losing their
rights,
own human rights, that you're choosing a candidate solely based off of their financial and economical point of views and like the policies, because that does come with a lot of really aggressive, terrifying and destructive policies that are actively going to affect our lives. And a lot of people ask us, what's really going to happen?
Yeah. Oh, it doesn't matter.
I can list it. I'm not going to get into it right now because this is not going to be an episode fully about politics. I promise you. But I do think that you really do need to be mindful of how you may dismiss some of the aggressive and violent parts of their policy before you start claiming that I just support them because I want to make more money.
Especially when
pay less taxes.
Especially when you're talking to someone within the LGBTQ community.
Yes.
Like especially when you're talking to someone who is in a minority group.
So wait a minute. So all the like despicable things that reality television stars on Selling Sunset, all of the versions of them, Gio did the worst thing by posting a photo of Donald Trump.
Yeah. I actually commented ill.
So you commented ill on the post.
Yeah.
Well, I
did a lot of people.
I don't think that there is an easy way to talk about this with people, but I also feel like that's where we've lost so much as a human race is that we can't have more mindful conversations or opposing conflicting points of view anymore.
No.
Like we all have to be on the same side or we're not on the same side. And I think that's a bad thing because I feel like you have to have some kind of discourse or some kind of conversation.
But there's no room for discourse or conversation anymore because it's literally do or die. It's do or die. It's make or break.
But it feels like do or die for each party.
Like this isn't like where we're deciding to go to dinner. Like, do you want pasta or
Chinese food?
Pizza.
Right.
It's not like that. It's just literally like, oh, gay marriage may be removed. Oh, trans right and trans affirming healthcare could be removed.
Right. Access to IVF or surrogacy can be gone in a few years.
Like it's not a very light topic. This is people's lives. And safety.
So before we get too deep, because I want to pick up this conversation.
Got me railed up today.
Today's episode is focusing on the haters. And it feels, especially in an election year, there's a lot of haters out there. And there's a lot of commentary around the way that we live our lives or the way that we want to go after our dreams. Like, I don't think it's just being gay or LGBTQ or wanting to live your truth in your gender identity or in your sexual identity. I think that it is obviously any action that you take, following your gut, following your heart, will generate a reaction out of the people around you, whether they love you or they support you or they don't, where there's going to be some criticism and some judgment. And sometimes that crosses over into some hate. Right. Not in the aggressive, I hate you vibe, but haters just don't want to see you succeed.
Jinx. Yeah.
So what's the difference? What's the difference between getting the hate, right, or being harshly criticized?
Well, I would say that hate comes from a place of fear. And I think hate also comes from a place of misalignment.
Okay.
Because you're hating on somebody because you're not agreeing with them.
Okay.
Right? So whereas when you're being a bit more critical and a bit more judgmental, you may not know all the facts to somebody's situation. Therefore, you just judge a book by its cover.
I agree with what you said around fear. Or they feel like with your success or with someone's success, they will have less access to that success.
Right. But it could also just be based, like the fear and the hating could just be based on someone's upbringing. It could be based on someone's values. It could be based on someone's beliefs. Like people who are fearful of, let's say, like trans people.
Right.
Are hating on them because of their fear.
Because they're not educated.
They're not educated.
In that they understand the experience.
Correct.
Or have an understanding of who that human being is.
Or what their identity is and like what that means to that person.
I'm very much aware of the privilege that we have within the LGBTQ space. But at the same time, it doesn't like differentiate the fear and what we feel that we're dealing with on some of the hate that we may receive as we live our normal lives.
Right. 100%. I completely agree with you.
So on that heavier side of haters, there's the lighter side. I just want to go to dinner. I'm going to have a fabulous time.
Yeah.
I'm going to have a cocktail and I'm going to take a selfie and I'm going to post it.
Yes.
Haters all around.
Haters all around.
Why are you spending money? Oh, look at them showing off. Like what's the selfie for?
Let me take a screenshot and send it to my friends in the group.
There's a lot of conversation and like whispers around you
online
as you're sharing your experiences.
You always taught me this. As soon as you post and you hit share, you're putting yourself you're putting yourself out there publicly to the haters.
Well, to everyone,
to pop backlash,
to the lovers and the haters,
to the lovers and the haters.
And
I love that,
and the people that don't give a shit.
Yes,
there's that middle ground.
We need the yayers, the yaysayers.
Yes,
and fuck the naysayers.
In our Instagram feeds, you have all these story posts, and you can see the stalkers, where people are just constantly just looking, but they're never really liking or commenting. Not that anyone owes you anything other than existing in their own life and just spending time like scrolling. They don't have to like all your shit and they don't have to comment on all your shit. But there becomes a time where you realize over a very long period of time that there's just a lot of looky-loos.
Yeah, there is a lot of looky-loos.
And who of those looky-loos are really truly supporting you and showing up for you versus the ones that are just going to be a voyeur?
Okay, let me share an example with you that I recently saw this morning actually from members within the LGBTQ community.
Yeah.
So I follow these gay dads, Francis and Stuart, who live in the UK, who are very publicly out on social media with their family, as they should, showing different types of families and like what that can look like, right? They obviously shared a bunch of screenshots in their comments from people who were hating on them because of their beliefs. They were saying like, where's the mother? Shame on you. Poor children. Like they copped so much backlash online,
right?
Because they're just sharing their love, which is very obvious in all of their posts, and how great they are as dads.
Right.
It's terrible to think that we within the community cop so much backlash. I'd probably say the most online, daily, when it comes to just sharing who we are in our lives every day.
I feel like the only way to avoid any kind of haterism is to
not post.
Right. And that's sad because you want to show and share your experience. And especially as queer families grow and prove over and over and over again that they are incredibly beautiful family units and offer so much value to building community and raise gorgeous children if that's their choice.
Correct.
Then I do feel like we all feel a sense of advocacy and activism within us that we want to share and we want to show our lives beyond just the egocentric part of it of wanting followers or like wanting likes.
Of course.
It has a lot to do, I feel, with
representation,
feeling proud and like knocking down the shame.
Yes.
As well as inspiring others
absolutely
to fully live their truth and fully look at the options of what may be possible for them.
Correct. Or show that it is possible in that instance to be gay and have a family or create a family.
Rolling it back to RuPaul's Drag Race and looking at these queens and the performances that they do, and they're asking for fame. They're entertainers. They are the ones that are putting on the shows, writing content.
Drag is an art form.
Razzle dazzle, right? It's such an entertaining, interesting platform to be as an artist and actor and entertainer and singer. So many of these people have to carve out a unique positioning to offer their own special sauce.
Well, that's their brand.
Like with fame and celebrity, you are actively choosing that life of the public eye, and you're putting out unique content that may spark some dialogue or debate around the value of that art form or that content. And sometimes you do get criticized by RuPaul's Drag Race fans, by the community, by saying like
by supporters,
right? Like Q from last year, like copped so much hate that she shut down her Instagram. Like it happens all the time, but those people are playing with fire in the sense that they've chosen to enter the ring.
They've opened Pandora's box.
Private people and private citizens of the world whether we share some of our life through our public Instagrams and threads and Twitter and TikTok and whatever, that doesn't mean we're all actively, immediately celebrities worthy of being thrown into the ring when we're just living our lives and showcasing the beauty that is our life and the stories that we want to document online and share with our friends and family.
Right.
So we don't deserve all that. No one at all deserves hate, period.
Right.
But we're not actively in the public eye. So I think that in our own feed and when we see things, and this happened in the initial Trump election, where, you know, we would share a bit of our points of view, and especially me in the US, like
even during COVID,
when I would get commentary from friends and family about pushback on the position of Obama at the time and how he was going to ruin America or whatever.
Right.
And I would then push back again and say, let's have a discourse, let's have a conversation. Cause I really wanted to hopefully inspire someone to change their vote or to look at both sides a little bit more coherently and understand what was at risk or what was happening.
It was
in
your
the
job.
US.
You felt compelled to educate people.
And then when I would get a little bit of that hate or get a little bit of that criticism on my sharing of some points of view that were never really super aggressive. I was never like a really extremist liberal.
Right.
But I was just trying to share more of a common sense and general welcoming inclusion for everyone. And that was even getting a lot of pushback. And I know that in this election today, it's even more like chaotic.
Absolutely. And you know what? It's also a full moon this week on the 21st of July, 2024, whenever you listen to this podcast.
Yeah.
So it may have passed already, but it's very erratic, intense, express yourself energy. So before you like
say anything,
word vomit, like I would usually do, I read some astrology advice this morning and it said for me, for an Aries or a Sag rising, save it in your drafts before you send it.
Okay, check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Yeah, and I was kind of like, okay, thank you for saving me from saying something that is like word vomiting.
That's fair.
I don't have the bandwidth and I don't have the peace. I don't have enough peace on my thermometer
to
engage with someone who's uneducated anymore, period.
Well,
You
know
do you.
There's different tactics, right? That I feel like everyone has some kind of suggestion towards dealing with the haters.
Right.
And I think that you need to know the difference between someone who's hating and someone who's offering criticism, even if it is unsolicited, as well as judgment. Because I think on a scale, it goes from like criticism to judgment to hate.
Correct.
If you're in a place that isn't great, blocka is a good approach where it's just like, I got to step away, block,
take some time.
Boy, bye. I don't need to deal with it. Like I can just focus on the goodness, but you can't keep living your life like that forever.
No, you can't keep living like
so.
that. No.
Like you can't just block it out.
So I think you do a really good job at blocking out the haters or dealing with the haters in general. What would you say is your best coping mechanism for haters?
I think you need to do a quick analysis. You need to
run me through the checks.
So you need to understand who you're dealing with. And I feel like if you know that you can have an impact on that person, then maybe it's worthy having a discussion. If you feel like you cannot have an impact on that person, block, bye. I don't need to, there's just ignore and then delete from existence.
That's so good actually, because there's one member of my family, we won't mention her name, but you cannot get through to that person.
So you just don't attempt. You just accept the difference, live your life. And as long as there's no active vitriol coming your way, or there's no active attack towards you, then let that existence happen and you can still have normal conversations about the weather.
Love it. Next. So one, identify your person.
Okay. So say you have identified that you can have a potential impact on that person. I feel like going with really a clear and honest, rather than judgment back to them, not even just like showing a mirror or like a rubber band back to them. I think it's more of like, this is how that negatively impacts me. Or you really lean in with fair Do you think that's fair? And I think that's also like a sales technique. Like when you're trying to negotiate a price and you're trying to come up with a price and you just go to the customer and you say like, well, do you think that's fair? And if it's an actually fair price, then they'll be more likely to be like, well, I think
I would
so.
even ask a question before I'd ask, is that fair? I would ask that person, if you could have a conversation with them, I would ask, what makes you say that? Or where do you get that from?
No, I don't think so.
I want to know where it comes from.
No, I don't care.
I do. Because I want to know what's going on in their brain and how they're thinking.
I don't care yet.
Okay.
Because I want to know if they have empathy. I want to know if they can look at my position and say, oh, I can see where you're coming from, but this is where I'm coming from. I think that you need to invite the information by sharing information. You can't just demand people to change. You can't demand people to change their opinion.
True.
But I think that if you can share your own personal point experience and how that potentially can impact you in a negative way, if it is impacting you negatively, then it is a really good opportunity to discover, does this person have empathy? And is like the key to realizing that core
change.
Then see if that person can relate in any way or feel that they have an open mind or some compassion. Then I think they'll just offer where that's coming from information.
I agree, but I'm thinking about people in my life who I would maybe have those types of conversations with, and they would probably show that they have fake compassion, right? But I think at the roots of their core, it's not going to affect them or change them in any way, sadly.
Yeah, but that you've made that decision for them in your own mind.
No,
you don't know. I've seen so many conversations happen between family members and political parties with kids that come out, or like other people in the public eye, where they feel like they have a little bit more understanding of another person, and then they change their point of view.
Right.
And I know that the less experience that you have with addressing the fears that you hold within will always hold you back in life. And I think that the more experience that you have with addressing those fears, then you open yourself up to understanding more, and then you can be mindful of some change. The last type of hater that you really can't deal with, and there's really no way to, and it's out of your control, are the silent haters.
Oh yes. I'm the troll. Like if I'm hating on you, you'll know about it. Like you'll verbally know about it.
Yeah, but that's not a troll. A troll sits behind a mask, a facade, and is a keyboard warrior, right?
That's what I did to Gio.
No, you as your public account said,
right.
You.
But aren't I trolling him?
No, you didn't, because you sent him some hate. You were a hater. Yes.
I was going to send them more hate.
Yeah, you were a full hater in that moment of sending Gio a bad message saying like, ugh.
The vomit emoji? Literally. I sent 10 vomit emojis. Anyway, back to your silent haters.
But a silent hater is one that just thinks ugh to Gio and just does nothing about it.
Oh, I don't like them.
But a lot of people are silent haters. Yeah. And I know that everyone, I think, has been in a position of being a silent hater.
But share your point of view. Your point of view matters. Your point of view is so important, especially in 2024.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody got time to be a silent hater. Period.
If you want to share what is on your mind,
share it.
Whatever that may be. And it could just be in full disagreement with what we're saying. It could be wanting to support a candidate that's a piece of shit.
Right.
But it can also...
Tell me about it.
Like, it's just opening up your mouth.
Right.
And having a conversation and not allowing yourself to fall in the tropes of becoming a hater.
Right.
Having an educated and really more coherent and clear conversation and being open-minded to listen and allow that person to talk and then have this kind of dialogue of debate and interaction.
It opens conversation.
It opens conversation. I think when we speak over each other, or we raise our voices, or we say, oh, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, there's so much that basically just shuts it down.
Right.
And there's so much lost in those moments, which could have been great.
Agree.
Like I've witnessed us both have conversations with friends of family or other people, acquaintances that had conflicting views to ours. And some of them are quite aggressive and incorrect in our opinion, in most people's opinion. But we had uncomfortable conversations, and it got a bit heated here and there, but it didn't have to. But I think that like in a way, those other people saw through it a bit. They saw how that impacted you. That saw like what would be if they weren't open-minded, and they saw both sides of the story a bit. Yeah. Maybe they didn't change their vote. Maybe they didn't change their point of view. Maybe they just stayed exactly the same and was just muddling along. 100%. But at least you kind of cracked it a bit. Yeah. And I think that's important to have, especially in an election year.
I'm just always trying to crack the whip. I'm over cracking the whip. The whip's in the closet. It ain't coming back out. Crack your own whip.
No, fair enough.
As we wrap up the episode today, I think one thing that I've learned is we're going to constantly face hate, and the haters are going to hate. Like Taylor Swift said, haters gonna hate. Right?
You know what I think? I think that...
So I'm going to shake it off.
I think that you can be like emboldened to, feel yourself.
Oh, I love that.
Feel the vibe. Like just fully feel the aura. Be who you are. And that's going to invite the hate, right? It's going to invite the judgment and the opinions or whatever, the criticisms, but have a solid and clear way of dealing with it.
And stand in your point of view.
Well, I mean, stand in your point of view, be someone who can advocate your story to others. Be someone who can show someone a different point of view in a way that can connect. We have to be more interpersonal. If you want to have an impact on others, you have to be a bit more empathetic and understanding, and like see ways to psychoanalyze them and get in their head.
Put the fear back on them. Imagine this happened to you. How would you feel?
That never works. That absolutely never works.
Really?
Never. Fear does not fix fear. Fear amplifies fear.
Right.
So if you made it worse for that person,
fear breeds fear.
Exactly. So I think that when you show someone your vulnerability, most of the times people can open up a bit and understand something different. Rather than you turning the tables on them, they'll just harden that shell.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
I could say that.
So in this election coming up, we really stay away from the politics of things while we focus on the conversations on how we can amplify our own authenticity and celebrate our vibrance as a podcast. But it is important to have these conversations and for us to have a little bit more of a point of view and share that point of view when so much is at risk and so much is at stake for all of us as a global community.
Yeah.
So keep building the vibrant life you want by owning your authentic self. Hey everyone, it's Daniel and Garet from Modern Gaze. You know how we're all about owning your authentic self, right? Well, we found something that's totally in line with that. It's called Homes Decor, spelled with 2 M's. Yeah, like home, but make it French and fabulous. This place is not your average home decor store. It's a vibe.
Picture this, guys. Provocative pillows that start conversations, gay vintage art that's like a time machine to the past, and futuristic drag queen portraits that are just iconic. It's all about expressing you.
And get this, they're offering free international shipping for orders over $200.
So save that money!
So you can be fabulous no matter where you are in the world.
Oh, and because we love you guys, use the code ModernGaze at checkout for a cheeky 10% off. It's like a high five from us to you.
So go ahead, make your space as vibrant as you are. Check out Homes, that's HOMMES, decor.com, and let your home tell your story.